Hey everyone, welcome back to Elgrey Books. I'm Ellie. Today I'm talking about the Booktube Octafinals. So I was a judge for fiction in Group C. So I'm just going to be talking today pretty briefly about the books that I read and my experience with joining up with the Booktube prize for the first time. And I did write a full blog post where I talked about the books that I read in more detail, so I'll link that below. That's the reason this video is a little bit later than most people's, is I was waiting to get that post out and last Friday was the earliest I could get it done. So I'll link that below if you're interested in hearing more of my thoughts. But I thought it would be fun to start with kind of my experience of signing up for the first time, what I thought about it, and yeah, we're just gonna go into it. So like I mentioned, it was my first time doing the Booktube prize. Last year I didn't even really pay a whole lot of attention to the prize. I feel like the people that I were watching weren't doing it, and then when I found all the people that were, it was like the event was over. So I did really enjoy watching people's reviews and things like that. I want to say that this is like incredibly well organized by Robert. It is like everything is like planned out, and that was just so nice to like not have to stress about anything but actually reading the books that I was assigned. I didn't have to have like, you know, things. Yeah, I just didn't have to think about the like logistics of it. I just had to read. So that was really, really helpful. I also really enjoyed this because it made me pick up books that I was interested in. Most of them. There are a few that I hadn't heard of before, but it made me read things that I probably wouldn't have picked up, or it would have taken me years and years and years to pick up. So that was really great. And yeah, I was really excited about all these books going into it. Spoiler alert, I didn't love all of them, but I'm really glad that I did get to read them, and that I got to read them in this setting because I think it made me think a lot more critically about them. I don't tend to read books with a critical eye. I read for enjoyment because I'm no longer a literature major. I have my honours degree, I'm done with that. And it's just nice to kind of, you know, be able to read books and just enjoy them for what they are. But it was really nice to also kind of go back into that mode of being like a literature student and having to think about it a little bit more than just, I liked this, I didn't like this. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. It's not really even a con, it's more of just if you are gonna sign up next year, maybe this is something I didn't even think about, but it is a little bit isolating, and not even in a bad way, but just in a, like, you can't talk about these books with people. You can't share what you think about them on social media, and you don't know who else is in your group. And it was just like, at times that was kind of stressful because I wanted so much to talk about this book, and I wanted to know other people's opinions on it. And like, yeah, I read like reviews on Goodreads, but I wanted to like talk to my friends that had read the book about it and been like, what did you think of this? And yeah, so in a way that was a little bit difficult, but also kind of fun because it did make me think about the books more than I guess I would usually, like, unless something is like really stuck with me, whether I liked it or not. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, you have those books that are just kind of middle of the road and you read them and then that's kind of it. So yeah, with these I really had to like, I had that time because I couldn't talk to anyone else about them, that I just had to go over them in my mind and unpack reasons why I thought that I was thinking the way that I was. Anyway, I really enjoyed this experience. I did also sign up to be a non-fiction judge, so I think I get picked in another round, and we'll see when that comes. But yeah, I am kind of following along where I can. Obviously with all this going on at the moment, I would love to be following along more, but I can't afford all of the books and my libraries are closed, so I'm kind of reading what I can, where I can. Anyway, let's get into the books that I read. So there are 6 for each group. Like I mentioned, I was doing fiction, group C. These are the ones that I read, and I'm going to go through the order that I read them in. So I was pretty lucky that we got the email with what the books were literally as I was getting on my flight back home from Denmark. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I can put library holds down, and by the time I get home, because it's a 25-hour trip, they might be at the library. So that was great, and it did really work out for me. And also apologies, this is kind of late in the video, but sorry if you can hear the wind and the rain. It was like beautiful and sunny when I clicked record, and now it's just, yeah. So firstly we have Frankenstein by Jeanette Winterson. I actually bought this one just before I went on my holiday, so it was perfect that I got home and I already had one of the books. So it was the first one I read, and I rated it 3 stars. This was the book that I was like, I really need to talk to someone about this because I don't know what to think. So half of this is the story of Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein. So it's in Lake Geneva, and Byron's there, my love, and Shelley is there. Yeah. And the other half is kind of like a modern sci-fi-ish sort of world where they've created like bots, and they're like sex bots, and the main character that we follow is transgender, and then yeah, I always want to call him, it's Victor, and I always want to say Eli as in like you're vicious, but it's Victor and Rye. And I really love the parts about Mary Shelley because huge fan of Frankenstein, love Mary Shelley, love Lord Byron. The bits about Victor and Rye I found to be incredibly sexist, homophobic and transphobic, and I don't know if that was just my reading of it, and I definitely think that it was, parts of it were challenged, which I feel like is the part, like if you're gonna have that stuff in a book, you've got to make sure it's challenged, but also I was just kind of uncomfortable by it. So I was kind of like middle of the road with this one, wasn't really sure how to feel about it. Next I read Where Reasons End by Yiyun Lin. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it for what it was. So it's a book about it's kind of based on the author's real experiences. So it's a woman talking to her son who has committed suicide, and it was really emotional and meaningful, and I really enjoyed those aspects, but I think that some of it was a bit too, maybe philosophical is the word, and I feel like some of it just went like straight over my head. So it wasn't even the book's fault. It was just me being like, I don't understand this sentence at all. But yeah, it was really beautiful writing, and it definitely brought me close to tears quite a few times. And I gave this one 3.5 because of the whole not really getting it thing. next up, I read Spring by Ellie Smith. I know that I am in the very, very small minority for this book, but I didn't like it. I just don't think Ellie Smith is for me. This is maybe the second or third book of hers I've tried to read, and I just haven't enjoyed any of them. This is the first one that I finished, so there's that. I gave this one 2 stars. I really enjoyed the first section of this. I loved all the stories. I loved especially the stories about Catherine Mansfield and Rilke. I can't remember. And I think, is it Rilke? Is it Rilke? I'm not sure. I really enjoyed those. That was great. It led me to pick up Catherine Mansfield's own stories, which I'd owned for a while. But then I just kind of got to the second part and I just kind of lost all enjoyment. And I don't even know what it was, but it was like a switch just like flipped and I just couldn't do it. Next up we have a Percy here because it is raining and he is scared of the rain, so he needs cuddles, obviously. So next I read Inland by Taya Obrecht, I believe is how you say it. This was one of those ones that I was like super excited for and I'd seen around quite a few times. I think it has a gorgeous cover and I was really excited for it, and again I just didn't gel with it. Gave this one 3 stars as well. It was the same kind of thing as Frankenstein, where I enjoyed half of the story but I didn't really like the other half. So this is, I really like the parts, I've forgotten the character's name, so I've got my reviews open here. The Nora parts I really enjoyed, but I didn't really understand the Laurie parts. I just didn't gel with those as well. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't love this one, but it was completely different to what I was thinking it was. Like, I was really excited about this because I thought it was a particular kind of book, and then I don't even know what I thought it was, but when I started reading it I was like, this isn't it. So yeah, 3 stars for that one. But then we get on to the last 2. So we have The Far Field by Madhuri Vijay, I believe is how you say it. I don't know. I was not really expecting to like this one. I thought that out of all the ones on this list, this was probably the one that I was least excited about. Mostly because I had never heard of it and I didn't really know anything about it. But I started reading it and I loved it. So this was definitely my favorite one. I gave it 4 stars. It was just really enjoyable and I felt very connected to Shalani, who is the main character, especially in the start of the novel, kind of how she's feeling. I think she's feeling very lost and that sort of thing, and I think we've all had those moments. So I definitely felt connected to her in that. Last one is A Woman Is No Man by Atef Room. I also gave this one 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it when I read it, and I think that I might have given it 4 like straight off the bat. But then as I was kind of waiting to kind of put together my thoughts on this one, I kind of forgot everything that I liked about it. It just didn't really stick with me as much as I thought it might. I do really enjoy the characters, but yeah, I can't really remember what I thought I liked about it so much. I think that this also might have to do with the fact that I read a book called Dominicana, I can never say that word right, by Angie Cruz, which is part of the Women's Prize list, and it has a very similar premise. And I read this one maybe a few weeks maybe even like 2 weeks after I finished A Woman Is No Man. And yeah, I just loved that one so much that A Woman Is No Man kind of paled in comparison for me. So I just couldn't remember why I loved it, or I thought I loved it. Okay, so those are all the books that I read for the Booktube prize in round 1. Like I mentioned, I'm kind of trying to follow along with the bingo boards that Robert has put up. So I might talk a little bit about that in the future if I do get to read some of those books. Obviously we kind of don't really know what's going on with the world right now, so until my library reopens, I think I might struggle a little bit. We're gonna see what I can do though. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Robert, for letting me be a judge in round 1. And I will see you all on Wednesday. I feel like I have a mid-month, it's either my mid-month haul or my mid-month wrap-up. And I can't remember which one I've decided to do first. It might be something completely different, who knows. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys then. Bye.